Welcome to Middle Class Matters. Today, 19th of June 2023, Business News in English from Dr. CMA Allegation. Let's see a Washington Post on India cracks down on critics of coal. Washington Post, Democracy dies in darkness. Asia, India cracks down on critics of coal. Documents reveal government anger over opposition of Indian non-profits and their Western allies to the subject of a powerful ally of Prime Minister Narendra Das by Gerishia, Karishma Malhotra and Anand Gupta. June 5, 2023, published at 1 am, New Delhi. An independent think tank, a law firm and an environmental group on September 7, Indian tax authorities simultaneously raided 3 seemingly unrelated non-profit organizations without issuing a public statement, confounding many in Indian academia and politics. But one little known thread connected the 3 groups. Each was seen by the government to be a critic of Gautam Adani, one of India's richest men and a political ally of Prime Minister Narendra. And each was seen to be standing in the way of a particularly contentious project, an Adani operated coal mine in a lush forest in central India called Hasado Arand. The story of the Hasado mine and the crackdown on its critics, which was pieced together by the Washington Post through interviews and public and confidential government documents, is a case study in how the Narendra government uses state power to push through its economic policies and to aid Adani, a major power operator of coal power plants and mines. At a time when the Biden administration embraces Narendra as a key partner in its geopolitical struggle against China, the saga also offers a glimpse into the Narendra government's distrust of Western non-governmental organizations and governments. Indian officials have never publicly commented on the September tax rates, but a post-review of 6 documents, including confidential follow-up notices sent by tax investigations to each non-profit and detailed reports of their findings forwarded to the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI), reveals the government's anger that the non-profits had opposed the Hasado coal mine by allegedly mobilizing protesters, filing lawsuits, and voicing public criticism. Officials were particularly incensed by ties between Indian activists and the West. The document showed, in one inquiry sent to an Indian environmentalist, investigators cited emails he had sent to British and Australian researchers about Adani's coal mining and coal power projects and accused him of divulging internal information of India and conspiring against Adani. Investigators had obtained the emails when they seized computers during the raids. In a report on their findings, officials listed an Indian lawyer's criticism in the press of the Narendra government policies and his contacts with the US environmental lawyers among the reasons his license to receive foreign funding should be revoked. Oxfam India, a humanitarian group that had funded Indian anti-coal activists, was accused of serving as a probable instrument of foreign policy that sought backing from the Irish government and the European Union, according to a government filing. Oxfam said it has always been compliant with Indian laws and cooperates with Indian authorities. Government hostility has cast a chill over India's climate campaigners who fear that criticism of continued coal reliance. The country is the world's second largest consumer of the fossil fuel and third largest emitter of greenhouse gases has become too politically sensitive to voice and may even initiate official reprisal. Everything is being lumped as an anti-India campaign whenever it is a discussion about energy, said the head of one Delhi-based climate advocacy organization, who spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of government retaliation. The government has a general fear that anything which comes with a tag climate is very Western pushed. Last year, a post investigation found that the Narendra government has for years granted tax breaks and preferential treatment to Adani's coal business, raising questions about India's commitment to transitioning away from the fossil fuel. At the COP26 Climate Summit in Glasgow, Scotland, in 2021, Indian officials, along with their Chinese counterparts, frustrated Western leaders by blocking a joint statement calling for a phase out of coal, arguing that it would unfairly burden poorer nations. Indian officials maintained that coal is crucial for a fast growing country with the world's third largest coal reserves but little oil, and some of them paint anti-coal activists as foreign-supported troublemakers. Foreign influence on energy security we will not accept. We want Hasado to be operational as quickly as possible. Mr. M. Nagaraju, a senior coal ministry official, said in an interview, "We are very clear that all these projects are important for our energy security. If somebody is trying to derail this process, that is unacceptable." For decades, Indian governments, including those led by other political parties, have viewed environmental campaigners as impediments to economic growth. But today's administration under Narendra's Bharatiya Janata Party is stifling dissent in a way that has alarmed even those who generally agree with its coal-friendly policies. A.N. Saha, a former senior official at Coal India, the state mining giant, rebuked anti-coal activists for believing that India could realistically abandon coal power in the next 30 years. But if something is doing anti-coal campaigns and the government is using the Enforcement Directorate and the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) against the outfits, that should not be done, he said, referring to India's powerful law enforcement agencies. People have to have their own views. Rajkumar, a spokesperson for India's Home Ministry, which oversees internal security, did not respond to detailed questions seeking comment, nor did the country's income tax department. In response to questions about the government's actions in recent months, an Adani spokesperson declined to comment, asking questions. In 2007, a joint venture led by Adani received the rights to operate a coal mine in the Hasado Aran forest of Chhattisgarh state. Several government committees declared the forest, which held more than 5 billion tons of estimated coal reserves, too ecologically sensitive for mining because of its density of lush trees and rich wildlife. But Adani obtained approval from mining officials for the first phase of his mine. He began digging in 2013, carving vast pits across 1,882 acres where trees once stood. Indigenous tribes that believed mining would threaten the forest biodiversity and their livelihoods launched a protest to block the mine. As the movement gained steam, villagers began to recruit help from a caste of sympathetic activists in New Delhi. Lawyers associated with the Legal Initiative for Forest and Environment, a non-profit known as LIFE, went to court to challenge the expansion of mining in Asado. A local anti-mining activist named Alok Shukla, a former government bureaucrat, helped organize villagers on the ground. Shukla, the government would later allege, was funded by another key player, the Center for Policy Research or CPR, widely considered India's top independent think tank. Meanwhile, R. Sridhar, a former geologist and veteran environmental campaigner who runs the non-profit Environics Trust, emailed environmentalists in Britain and Australia to spread the word about the villagers' plight. In June 2019, Sridhar said, he received an offer from an intermediary to enter mediation with the Adani Group regarding a lawsuit he had filed against another project, a controversial power plant in the eastern Indian town of Goda. Sridhar declined, and within days he experienced what he described as official harassment. When we refused, a week later, we had the income tax authorities asking questions, Sridhar recalled. The Adani Group called Sridhar's recollection of the 2019 mediation attempt and tax inquiry totally false and misleading. Sridhar's lawsuit against the power plant was eventually dismissed. By 2021, there were further signs that the government was escalating its scrutiny of environmentalists. That year, the Post found, as part of a joint investigation with the Forbidden Stories journalism non-profit, that a phone number belonging to Shukla, the local anti-mining activist, was on a list of potential targets for surveillance using the military-grade Pegasus spyware sold by Israel's NSO group exclusively to government buyers. Indian government has never confirmed or denied its use of Pegasus. Like the video, subscribe the channel, give your comments. Part 2 will continue on this subject. Thanks for watching.